softly hear from a whisper so near, slowly stirring sweet muses from nights far. Round, round and around, suddenly soaring higher, higher, blazing the sun, sweet
Yes, if you weren't here for the welcome, my name is Pamela Kuhn. I'm an opera singer. I've been a professional singer for over 50 years. And believe it or not, I'm 73 years old. And yes, I could qualify to live at Casa Verdi. And yes, I would go in a heartbeat. Me too. We all have to thank the wonderful work of this creative team headed by Yvonne Russo and Christine Lamont, composer Nicholas Pike. And as you can see, this song, Sweet Dreams of Joy, has just been shortlisted for the Oscars. And I think you can share in my excitement on that, because usually the songs are a little bit wanting, but this one is not. And it has been inspired by Sweet Dreams of Joy, definitely. But I've just got to say that as a musician, I appreciate and I am so humbled by the work of this creative team in devoting their lives to Giuseppe Verdi and Casa Verdi. So, Yvonne, I'm still so humbled when I see this film. And I've seen it twice, each time I see different things. But we've just got to know, how did this start? How is it that you devoted your Sweet Dreams of Joy to Casa Verdi?
Thank you so much. I learned about Casa Verdi when I was working for National Geographic. So I was working in Washington, D.C. I was a series producer for National Geographic, and we were working on covering a story about Milan and its hidden treasures. It was a story about only where the Milanese people go, so non-tourist people, and basically all the locals go. And I was following a photographer named David Yoder, and David Yoder said, hey, he goes, you have to come and see this place, Casa Verdi. It's one of a kind in the world. I hear it's magnificent, and it's all retired opera singers and musicians, and let's go. And so that was really the first time that I had seen it. And when I first saw it, I was just blown away because it's so remarkable. The home has this essence, this feeling of legacy, but of a deep, I don't know, there's just this deep sense of humanity and heart and people that were building community all around music. And I was just really blown away, and I thought, one day I want to come back and tell the story. But I couldn't tell the story then because I was under a contract for National Geographic. So when my contract ended, then that's when I said I want to come back, and eventually we came back and told the story.
This is amazing to me. So for you're a member of the Lakota tribal nation. You have been chronicling with your fantastic storytelling as a producer and a director, preserving her language, the knowledge of her people. And here she is in Milan talking about professional musicians with this beautiful sense of community. I understand that this took quite a long time.
It did. We raised the money for and so producing documentaries and making documentaries is a true labor of love. It's challenging because you have to raise money and kind of piecemeal it as you have to build a proof of concept, you have to be able to pitch, you have to prove that you have a story. And this was risky because of the genre, basically. So we decided to pursue this true independently, just through foundations, private donors, and it's been pretty incredible. And I also want to acknowledge two of our executive producers that are here tonight. We have Tiffany Soares. Tiffany helped And also Claire Wilkes, our new co-executive producer on board, who is helping us with Impact. It really takes a labor of love, and it's really about making sure that the film is seen by the demographic that it needs to be seen in. And for us, it was about making sure that this is seen in senior living homes. It can also be a blueprint for senior living centers where you inspire intergenerational exchange between young and older people, and also building community. So we decided to raise the money independently. So we own our film.
This is incredible, and that gives you the power then to distribute it as you would like. I mean, it's
Right.
rare to really get a project like this off the ground independently. Raising the money is difficult. And during this time, this 14-year period, you were hit with COVID.
Yes, we had the pandemic. Yes. So there was, it was a total of 4 years that we weren't able to go back to film. So yes, so it took us a couple of years to develop it. We started by raising money through Indiegogo, and then our Broadway producer, Ron Simons from Simon Says Entertainment, he was the first partner to come in, and then eventually we piecemealed the film. But it's, yes, it took time. And we were editing during the pandemic. We were editing, from Italy and Los Angeles and New York. So it was pretty intense, but we did it all online.
In my second viewing here, one of the things that strikes me so strong was the editing. And the fact that you let the camera linger so much on individuals' faces, the sweetness, the smiles, the lust for life, the poignancy. And I have to say also as a musician, a lot of those voices are in good shape. It was quite incredible that their singing was still so healthy. But that brings me to another point, and that is life at Casa Verdi seems quite healthy.
Yes. Yes, it is. Casa Verdi's really a remarkable home. There's over 60 people, 60 guests that live in the home. And there's one part of the home that's independent. So it's very active individuals. And then on the other side of the home, it's more of the hospice side. And we personally chose not to depict the hospice side because it's inevitable. We all know what's going to happen. But it's joyous. It's about building community. They have community. They have each other. They have friends, they dine, they date. The couples, there's one couple who married. They met and they married there. And it was, it's just wonderful. And again, you have children coming in, they have performances, there's many engagements. So it's a wonderful place full of color and life.
So as a diva who's done a lot of productions, and I know all the dramas that go on behind the scenes and in the wings, were there dramas that you faced, and were there difficulties and personalities?
Actually a little. So Lena Vasta, the woman with the glasses, who's ageless, she was wearing the white sunglasses. She was really she didn't want us to get too close. She didn't want us in her room. She would only let us see her during certain times, but she only wanted to hang out with younger people. And it was really interesting. And so she was always a bit of a diva. I mean, she lives in the highest level of the home. She is the soprano of the home, and she was quite a character. And then Jombi too, as you can see, Jombi's larger than life and really incredible, and he's the alpha of the house, and everybody loves him, but he's like the ringmaster. He gets everybody going. So that was always a lot of fun, but nothing really intense. So
Jombi really is the composite of the perfect performer, actually. I mean, and his lust for life, the life in his eyes when he said, "I love life so much," and guiding these young musicians, it was just so fantastic to watch. This is the best aspect of Casa Verdi as I can see, and all of these performers still living their dreams. But I also have to ask, okay, the youngster, the kid, the drummer, he was a hot item. I mean, he was a cutie. So how many women were after him? Because I'm sure there are a lot of single women and less single men, right?
He was pretty active in the house, but he's married. So
Oh.
his wife, they live there together. And but she did not want to be on camera. She was, really supporting him and his mission in the film.
I loved it. He was lovely. And also in this showing, it was very strong to me again about the plight of women of that generation. Women who had either been really held down by their husbands at that time, of course the amazing diva whose husband was quite jealous of her talent from the sound of it. But here we come full circle, and she's able to live her dream, and she was singing so well.
Yeah. She had a core wound, and that was her wound, that her husband was very jealous, and he was very strict with her. So when he passed, she had this weight that lifted, and she started singing again. And she said it changed her life. Being at Casa Verdi allowed her to be free. And for us, it was like, wow, like that's pretty remarkable. But it's hard. We understood that most of the women there, they all had been suppressed during their time.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was they just weren't allowed to sing because they needed to remain in the house, or they needed to behave a certain way, or they weren't making a living wage, and so it was always really difficult.
Well, they're not suppressed now, and I love it. This is the beauty of Casa Verdi. I have to say, when I interviewed all of you on my show, which I have a podcast, Center Stage with Pamela Kuhn, which is devoted to the arts, I made the point of talking about Hitchcock. You remind me of Hitchcock in your direction a little, the way you linger on faces. I love that. So we have a moment to really absorb everything. But I quoted him, actually, when he said that in feature films, the director is God, but in documentaries, God is the director. And I feel that the entire team from Viva Verdi has really touched the skirt of unbelievable inspiration. And I understand you have been shortlisted for the Oscars, but alas, we have not made it this time. How do you feel about that, really, Yvonne?
Well, actually, the song has been "Sweet Dreams of Joy" by Nicholas Pike is now shortlisted for the Oscars, which is really exciting, and it's wonderful. I mean, we were up against 200 films, and I think in the music category it may have been 60 or so, but now I don't know what the number is now, but we still have to reach this next point in the shortlisting, and I think there's one more nomination round. So fingers crossed, but Nicholas Pike, Sweet Dreams of Joy is the main source song and theme
Okay,
for
he's
the
carrying
film.
the torch. I love it.
Yes.
How did you find Nicholas Pike?
Actually, my producing partner, Christine Lamont, who lives in Los Angeles, she's not here tonight, obviously, but she found Nicholas. She found Nicholas in Los Angeles and told him all about the film. We had a proof of concept at the time, and she showed him that proof of concept, and then he immediately wrote a song and composed the piece, Sweet Dreams of Joy, based off of the proof of concept. And so that ended up in the film, but she showed me the cut that he created, and once I viewed it, because he created this music video, I was like, oh my gosh, he did that just watching our proof of concept? I said, yes, I'd love to work with him, and he's pretty remarkable. So
Yeah, he is,
yeah.
he is. And in a private conversation with Nicholas, he shared with me that there is a great connection with nature, not only in the film and in Verdi's life, but also in the song, Sweet Dreams of Joy. You can hear that. You can really hear that. A little Verdi influence, I would say.
Yes, Verdi was a remarkable man, and he really needs his own documentary all about Verdi, and that was actually something that we struggled with because we wanted to tell more of his story, but at the same time, this is really about the residents and how music saved their lives. But Verdi, he was so in tune with nature, he had a leaved teepee in his backyard. So at his villa, he had this beautiful teepee that was all made of these gorgeous leaves, and then he had a little seat inside, but he would sit there and tune into the sounds of nature and listen to the birds and listen to the insects. And that's really how he composed most of his operas that still play today.
Wow,
Yeah.
I did not know that,
Yes.
actually.
Yeah.
Yvonne, I find that remarkable.
I do too.
I do know that he could sometimes be a difficult man, and he could be an isolationist. And isn't it ironic that he was such a philanthropist for his fellow colleagues?
Yes. He still considered himself a peasant farmer. He grew up with humble beginnings. His parents ran a trattoria, and he actually wanted to go to music school, but was rejected when he was young. He was rejected, but a patron of the arts supported him, and eventually he was able to take lessons from someone else. But he always considered himself a very humble person, and a person of the people, which I love.
Well, and we also love the fact that there is so much synchronicity, so many circles completed in these stories. Again, especially for the women. And of course, for our little South African tenor who finally made it to dinner with his walker. I mean, that journey was so dear, the way you chronicled that and edited it, I loved it. But also for you, I understand that there was a circle completing for you in your private journey during the making of this film.
Yes. So I'm half Lakota. My mother's full Lakota Sioux Indian, and my father's Italian. But I never grew up with my Italian father or my Italian family. I actually didn't even know them. My parents divorced when I was a baby. So I grew up with my mother and just only grew up with my Lakota side. So it was interesting because when I first learned about Casa Verdi and when I first walked in, I really felt a deep sense of curiosity, and I was really emotional. And I don't know, at the time I didn't understand why, but through the journey of making this film, I realized like I was in search of myself also through the eyes of all of the people that were there, and learning about their world's history, culture, life from that Italian point of view. So that was interesting, but that came full circle for me.
And really, it must have been so exhausting for you emotionally on every level. And I know you would work with people and then they would pass away, and you would see so many transitions.
Yeah, that was difficult. As you can see at the end, you see those that have passed on, and that was one thing. There were so many stories, like there were so many wonderful stories, but when we would fly back home, we would edit footage, and then we would raise more money, and then we would go back to Milan, and suddenly one of our characters had passed away, and so it was like, well, we still want to honor that character. What do we have, of that person? Do we have enough or not? And so that happened throughout. Yeah, so it was challenging.
Was it difficult coming to an agreement about who to feature, really?
No. No, not at all. Because there's so many things you look at too. Also, as a director, you have to make sure there's a presence, in the sense of they're able to really depict their creative vitality and life, and you just know. Again, as you said, documentaries will tell you what they want to be. So if there's any filmmakers here, I know Matt's here, yes, but the docs will tell you what they want to be. They're a living, breathing medium. And so even if you have your initial idea and what you want, if you want to tell a story, I always say there's 3 versions to the story. The one that's in your mind at first, the second one that you start making within production, and then the third one in the edit, because it'll circle back and tell you what it wants to be.
Oh, I love that. I love that, getting to the heart of the reality of the story.
Yes.
So, are there more documentaries in store for you, Yvonne Russo?
Possibly. Possibly. I'm working on animation right now. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's a series, animated series. So that's the next project.
How
Yeah.
exciting.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure you will join me in thanking Yvonne Russo her cantaness,
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
And one thing I need to mention, the beautiful singing in Sweet Dreams of Joy is the marvelous soprano Ana Maria Martinez. And Nicholas Pike actually went through several sopranos before with illness and complications. He finally came upon this wonderful artist, and she graces this project. And I hope we will be seeing her and Nicholas Pike and all of you at the Oscars.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.